Ah, the countryside. I think we've all fantasized about just getting up and leaving everything behind. This sounds nice and all until you realize how arduous and stressful being a farmer can actually be. As a kid playing Stardew Valley, I used to fantasize about living a peaceful life on a farm away from civilization. I live on the periphery of the city and right next to the countryside, so I get the best of both worlds. I would go to this farm camp every summer, and now that I think about it, they were just making me do free labor and labeled it as an authentic farming experience. I was out in the fields working for free, man. There was probably a joke to be made there, but I'm not the one making it, okay? Either way, I thoroughly enjoyed my experiences, but maturing has made me realize it's not really that realistic, and it's not the type of life I want for myself anyway. And that's okay, because I can occasionally live that life through good old escapism. There's something just cozy about playing these games, especially before bed, knowing I can ignore my real life responsibilities for fictional ones. A healthy dose of escapism after a long day is nice, and the way these games are designed discourages binging. After a certain point, it becomes part of my daily routine, and even with all the amazing farming games coming out today, I want to give a spotlight to some of the less well-known games of old. The longer this video goes on, the more overlooked these games get, but this video isn't even that long anyway. And unlike my other series, these games aren't going to be necessarily obscure, but more so just aren't as present in the overall cultural landscape anymore. I think we should start with a series familiar to a lot of you guys. This is Rune Factory Frontier and Rune Factory Tides of Destiny. Let's start with Frontier first. I only heard about this game a few months ago when a friend of mine was talking about it. She's totally addicted to that one Hello Kitty game, by the way. I need someone to tell me if it's genuinely good. Yeah, here I was, thinking Rune Factory 5 was the first Rune Factory game of this kind, but no, this one did it all the way back on the Wii. You know, if I wasn't moving out in a few months, I would totally buy myself a Wii just to play this game on authentic hardware. There are so many cool games stuck on the system, and emulation just doesn't cut it. That Wii game feeling is unmatched too. I really don't know how to describe it. The setting of the game itself is sort of a secluded, empty town, and when I say empty, I mean empty. You obviously meet more people as the game goes on, but in terms of the Rune Factory games, the village starts out really shockingly empty, which I have to say is a nice change of pace. Also, I really like some of the characters in this. I really like some of the characters in this. What the fuck? She's not a marriage candidate? Are you kidding me? It also really lacks in male characters, since you can only play as a dude, so my apologies to any straight woman who wanted to marry your local Hot Topic employee. You know what? Maybe I know why this game is overlooked now. Apart from all of that, I do have to say, the characters in this game have the most charming designs in the series, at least for me. They're all very memorable. Despite this game not being mainline, you'd be mistaken if you thought this wouldn't have as much content as the others. In fact, up until 5, this one probably has the most content out of any of the other games. It makes sense given the fact that the mainline games were all on handhelds up to this point. In that regard, I barely scratched the surface, but I also noticed compared to the mainline games, this one is much slower paced. Something that I love about the Rune Factory games compared to other farming games is how fast and satisfying progression would feel, but this game takes it slow. Honestly, even slower than a traditional farming game. In that regard, it may alienate some people, but if you're looking for a game to commit to for a few months, then this is the one. It doesn't require your full attention all the time, and it's easy to get into. Now, Rune Factory Tides of Destiny, I had no clue even existed before making this video. I was gonna skip it, but it's an ocean setting with beautiful beaches. You guys know I can't pass that up. Oh my god, I love beaches so much. Looking over the ocean's horizon just does something to me, man. Makes me feel a little melancholy. If I ever get rich, I ain't telling nobody, but you'll probably be able to find me in a beach house somewhere with a stash of Tommy Wright CDs. Compared to Frontiers, this is just sorta neglected, and the more I played, the more sense it made. No, it's not bad, don't think that's what I'm insinuating, but for a Rune Factory game, it's different from what I expected. It still has a life sim and social aspects, which is one of the main things I come for. Even if this game has some of my least favorite characters in the entire series, come on man, this guy's a weirdo. More so because farming is just an afterthought. Farming is usually the first thing you do in these games, but not here. Instead, this is much more focused on exploring the vast oceans and isolated islands. I love the feeling of isolation this has. One of the reasons why I love island settings is that feeling of secludedness. With escapism, I like feeling as if I'm as far away from regular society as possible, and what's more isolated than a small island with a population smaller than one of my high school classes? And it's all just so pretty, one of the best looking Wii games in my opinion. It's all really saturated, and the dense layout of the main island gives it this really unique vibe. It reminds me of those white and blue seaside towns in Greece. The game itself, it doesn't have the best reputation. Seriously, why do all of these sites have the exact same review verdict? There's gotta be some foul play going on here. If you come to Rune Factory for farming, I don't really recommend this, but if you come for combat, then you'll be eating good from this. Also, I really wish they would use character portraits instead of these 3D models. Like, they'll literally have 2D illustrations of these characters right here, man, and it looks so much better. Both of these games, I am planning on playing fully in the future, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. I know they're going to provide me with a lot of relaxation. One day, just out of nowhere, this cool new IP called Story of Seasons released. It just popped up one day out of nowhere and seemingly took the farming game crown off of Harvest Moon's head and established itself as a farming game staple. Or at least, that's what we thought. Nah, I don't know why I said we, I wasn't even around during this. Okay, so some funny little thing happened. This is actually Harvest Moon. Marvelous, the people behind Harvest Moon kinda sorta lost the rights to the Harvest Moon name, which was given to Natsume. They're still the same people behind all the old games, but they just can't use the good old Harvest Moon name anymore. So they had to rebrand as Story of Seasons, and ever since then, they've been desperately trying to remind people that they're the real Harvest Moon. No, seriously, it's so funny. I swear they only made the Friends of Mineral Town remake just to tell people that they were forced to change their name to Story of Seasons. And there are still people to this day in the big 2025 that have no clue that they were forced to change names either. Go into the comment section of any modern Harvest Moon game and pull your hair out as people don't realize that this isn't the legitimate part of the Harvest Moon series. Although I don't think Story of Seasons gets enough credit for building its own identity almost apart from Harvest Moon. You can argue that Harvest Moon and Story of Seasons are different if you really wanted to. Of course, they're both part of the same series, but you can argue that the post-Harvest Moon games are distinctly different vibes-wise. Story of Seasons is a very typical Harvest Moon experience that doesn't feel by the books. It has me wishing that I played more farming games in general, which I guess I am doing now. It is somewhat overwhelming near the beginning, coming across these other farms all better than yours, while being presented with all these people and locations in a rather large town. Of course, this game walks you through every little thing, but I don't really mind it. At this point, especially in the 3DS era, that comes with the territory with these types of games. This is a pretty big expansion on Harvest Moon 3D, A New Beginning, a game made before the divorce. The thing about these modern farming games, borrowing the fact that this is like 11 years old, is that these farming games have much slower progression compared to older farming games. Sure, they may be less repetitive just due to having more content overall, but things get unlocked much slower. In older farming games, most everyday things were unlocked from the very beginning, but not here. It takes a while for everything to open up, which is something older farming games have over some of the newer ones. Barring all that though, the people who love this game. There is so much love for both of the 3DS Story of Seasons games. In my mind, these two games are the only things even keeping the system relevant at this point. I played this one twice, once for footage, but another time to get myself truly immersed. It's truly a victim of the slow start phenomenon, because when the ball gets rolling, it gets rolling fast. In that regard, playing for footage was kinda jarring, so being able to actually do it on my own time was so much more liberating. Plus, I've been meaning to play this game way before even thinking of this video. Story of Seasons is a great step forward in the farming game genre. Let's see how Harvest Moon is doing. It can't be that bad, right? Harvest Moon is like the ex whose life went entirely to shit after you broke up with them. Oh, how cruel it was to put this game right after Story of Seasons. This era of Harvest Moon has been forgotten, and I'd be lying if I said it wasn't for a good reason. At this point in time, they were doing this really weird thing where they were trying to be Minecraft, and did they pull it off? Yeah, no, they didn't pull it off actually, don't even ask that question. Harvest Moon: The Lost Valley was the first of this type of game, and it is awful. Skytree Village is sort of meant to act as a sequel to the mess that was Lost Valley, and I came in with high hopes, not because I think this game is going to be amazing or anything, but like, it's hard to make a bad farming game. Seriously, how many of you guys have ever played a bad farming game? Like, how do you even make a bad farming game anyway? Well, this will show you. Farming games are repetitive. by design, and this feature that they all share is comforting in a way. No matter how much my life changes, I know that this game will remain familiar, and I like routine. But farming games aren't always about farming. The social aspects of this game are essentially non-existent. The villagers here are only really there to give you quests. This doesn't feel like a community. It feels like I'm an indentured servant attempting to farm on the most awkward looking terrain ever. And oh god, the terrain. Everything in this game is so unwieldy. They couldn't even make farming seamless. Positioning your character is so finicky and obnoxious, especially when tending to large fields such as this. By the way, at the beginning of the game, you can kind of just get unlimited seeds by exploiting the fact that the game keeps giving you them so you don't fail the quest. I don't know if this is intended. I doubt it. It's really ridiculous actually. I thought the amount of work I put into farming would pay off, but nah, not even farming in this game feels rewarding. For all this, I got a whopping $3,000, which is paltry by the way, just so you know, especially in this game. Farming in farming games is supposed to be the most rewarding activity, especially if you put so much time and effort into it. In Rune Factory 3, I had $100,000 before the end of the first spring due to how much time and money I invested into farming. I'm not saying I should be getting these kinds of returns for every single game, but you need to create a balance where farming still feels worthwhile. I mean, it's basically the only thing I can do anyway because this game kinda lacks any other activities to do. Of course they get unlocked over time, but even then they're monotonous. It's crazy how almost every single aspect of this game feels like a time waster. A part of me wants to say this game isn't bad, but to be honest, it fails at almost everything that I want in a farming game. The thing about these games is that there are, especially nowadays, so many alternatives out there, equally as time consuming. Why settle for mediocrity when you could be playing anything else? As for the Minecraft thing, yeah, it feels miserably at this too. I don't think I've seen a single person genuinely take this aspect of the game seriously. Like, I haven't seen an impressive build or even a decent looking farm aesthetics wise. And what's funny is, this is considered the best post-breakup Harvest Moon game. Well, not anymore, but it's not a high bar to begin with, to be fair. Psh, they turned off comments on the trailer video. Man, these guys are really embarrassed about the little divorce, aren't they? A part of me feels a bit bad for them, but like, what can you do in this cruel world anyway? I picked the third Harvest Moon on the Game Boy Color because I assumed it was probably the least remembered. Also, it's probably just the best, like come on. If you're gonna make 3 of these back to back, I expect them to get better every single time. Going from all these 21st century games to this, also a 21st century game, but barely, was a huge whiplash for me. Farming games used to be so much more simple. Going back can be kinda jarring. I'm so used to being able to fill my days with side activities and socializing, so playing a game that's just pure farming was certainly an experience, almost like this is the whole point. Ignore my ugly ass farm by the way, I'm really bad at tilling fields for some reason. I like to cram my days with as much as possible in these games, so going to bed before 5 PM just doesn't sit right with me. Funnily enough, I actually played this twice, once just to record footage, but I restarted and had way more fun the second time. A nice little game to play before bed or work. Although, as to be expected by a Game Boy Color game, the social aspects of this one are very basic. But like I said previously, it focuses so much more on farming compared to the average farming game, so I guess this is to be expected. Don't get me wrong, you can still get married, but the connection you feel towards these characters is heavily limited by the fact that they're just kinda pixels. I really am spoiled by the character portraits because who looks at this and thinks, man, I gotta marry that. I notice how uninviting the older Harvest Moon games really are. There is so much trial and error when it comes to learning these games. It will drive so many people away from it. Add on to the fact that it's extremely repetitive, and yeah, most modern farming game enjoyers can skip this one. And when I say repetitive, I mean wake up, water crops, talk to people, maybe forage, then sleep, and you can all do this before it even hits 3 PM. There's a town with a lot more to do, but at least at the start of the game, it's only open like 2 days out of the week. So for the rest, you just sorta condemned on this small island. If you want a more classic Harvest Moon experience, I certainly recommend this, maybe even over the SNES version. I do recommend using a website or like a guide or something, which will tell you everything you need to know if you're feeling lost starting out. Guaranteed you will feel lost if you don't use these, by the way. And I just love the site design. Man, I wish more websites could look this charming. This will keep you busy for a while, especially for a Game Boy Color game. And I just love the Game Boy Color aesthetic. Maybe it's because I played a lot of Game Boy Color games on Virtual Console as a kid, but I just love the games on the system, especially the music for these games, which is like shockingly good. Every game on the system has like this small, cozy, contained feeling to it. Please play Wario Land 3, guys. I've said it so many times, please play it. As is tradition, I'm going to go over some honorable mentions. Even though this is kind of a spin-off of those videos, it doesn't matter, let's go over them real quick. Sim Farm, a very old, archaic farming game that focuses a lot on realism. It's not very convenient and requires a lot of micromanaging, but man does it have a charm to it. You have more control over your farm compared to the average farming game too, which is pretty cool. 8-Bit Farm. I've been a Carousel fan for 8 years now, and I will not stop singing their praises. All of their games have a certain level of charm and quality to them that I can't really find in anything else. This is the average Carousel game, lots of customization and micromanaging. This one is pretty divisive among Carousel fans though, but it's not bad at all. I spent so much time playing these games instead of studying for my final exams like an actual adult would. Mina de Bokujo Monogatari, a game so overlooked it's basically become lost media. This is a browser-based Harvest Moon game that takes advantage of the online space. It seems to be your typical early 2010s free online computer game though. Looks like freaking Farmville. Okay, alright, that's enough. We're done here. This channel has come such a long way, and I'm glad I have so many people supportive of me on my journey. If you can't recall, look at this clip from my very first Cozy RPGs video. Welcome to the Pixel channel if you're new everybody, a place where you grind till you drop, consume all my slop, and farm crops. That's right, I foreshadowed this video from the very beginning. It all comes full circle. Thanks for watching, keep farming, and thanks for 10K. Peace out, guys.